G'day again, YouTube. BalorMage here. Still out of hair product. Can't do anything about this mess. But we can update you on what we're doing. So, this is a little bit outside of my normal style of content. Style's not right. But I normally aim to have most of my builds relatively new player accessible. So, generally between 5 and 10x cost for a build, normally up to 25 maybe at the very most. This build, however, is kind of a budget version of MP's Wander, kind of, except I'm a Scion. But when I say budget version, what I mean is my budget is currently 140 to 160-ish exalts, and I plan on spending another 200 or 300 on it over the next week. So this is, I just need to get that out of the way right away. This is not a new player friendly build at all. This is a very, very expensive build. It is ridiculously expensive, and it is also completely over the top and just completely unnecessary levels of power. Right, but to go over it quickly, the premise of this build is heraldry and aura stacking. So, a quick look at our tree makes it look like no other tree that you ever see, or every other herald stacking tree. Now, I'm going to go over the mechanics in case you've been living under a rock and you don't know what's going on. We've got a few things. Endbringer, which is 25% increased damage for each herald affecting you. There are 5 heralds, so each one of these nodes is 125% increased damage. There are heraldries, which we use the least amount we can of, which right now is 3. They just help us with mana reservation. Increase the effect of the herald buff, which isn't as important as the 10% reduced mana reservation of herald skills, which again, we're using all 5 of. And then the big one, which is Purposeful Harbinger. Aura buffs from your skills, or from skills, have 10% increased effect on you for each herald affecting you, which again, we have 5 of, which means every one of these nodes gives us 50% increased effect of auras on us. So, Endbringer Heraldry, Endbringer Purposeful Harbinger, Endbringer Heraldry, oh no, that one's Purposeful Harbinger as well, Endbringer Purposeful Harbinger, Heraldry Purposeful Harbinger, Endbringer Purposeful Harbinger, Endbringer Purposeful Harbinger, Heraldry Purposeful Harbinger, Purposeful Harbinger, and we have one replenishing presence node. Just one to give us pretty much all the regen that we've got, which is 1,200-ish regen, on top of 65 fizz reduction, 90 to all max res. Now, every single jewel in your entire tree, pretty much. Ooh, this one doesn't. Oh, right, the Conqueror's Efficiency. Every other jewel socket, other than the Conqueror's Efficiency, is got 1% reduced mana reserve on it. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. The only ones that don't are these ones, which we got Corrupting Blood Immune for Pure Guile, Pure Aptitude, and Pure Might for our reservation of our purities. Those do not have mana reservation on them yet, but don't worry. We're trying. The more mana reservation we can get, the less heraldry nodes we need. And every time we can swap out a heraldry, we get 50% increased effect of all of the auras on us, because we will be swapping those out for more Purposeful Harbingers. So, in an ideal world, we'd have an Intuitive Leap here, but it needs 1% mana reserve. Once I get one of those, we can spec out of these 2 points. Gives us 2 points to play with. This build is very, very point-starved. Also, that point, and that point don't actually need to be there. They're fluffer points for now. I just don't quite have enough points with just those 3 to get to anything meaningful. I could take True Strike, which does have 5% Fizz's extra fire on it because of my Lethal Pride, but not important. So we've just gone with those for now. There's a lot more to spend on this, but what you can see is how many goddamn auras we're running. We are our own aura bot. This is done by taking every single bit of mana reservation we can get. So on top of our heralds and purities being free, heralds because of the heraldry nodes and purities because of these ones, which have 30% reduced for each individual one, we've also taken every single mana reservation node on the entire tree. We've anointed Champion of the Cause to get by. We're wearing an Alpha's Howl with a Grace has 15% reduced mana reservation enchant. We are wearing an amulet which has 6% reduced mana reserve, which is 5% reduced mana reserve, but qualitied up with the mana one to get us an extra 1%. We are wearing a Sackwall's Nest for 10% reduced mana reserved. We ran out of sockets, so we are running rings that have a Herald of Thunder in that ring and a Herald of Ash in that ring, and they're both unset rings. So we get Herald of Purity and Herald of Agony socketed into them. We've got all 3 purities, all 5 heralds, and then Wrath, Haste, Grace, Anger. What else we got? Wrath, Hatred, Grace, Haste, Precision, Anger, Discipline. I've got a level 20 cast when damage taken linked to Desecrate Bone Offering right now. I may drop that. It was getting me block capped and like 55% spell block, which I have none of by default, no spell block, but this puts me up to like 55%, but only when I take enough damage to proc a level 20 cast when damage taken, and that's just not happening. I have, for now, a self-cast elemental weakness that apparently hit 2020 yesterday, so we're just gonna really quickly just slip this into the video. Just boom! Oh, that's fucked. Oh well, don't worry about that. That's fine. And then a Dread Banner, a Clarity, which we could level up a little bit, but there's no need to. It just doesn't do anything. And this pretty much lets us, between all of the aura stuff and all of the generic damage stuff, it lets us do anything, and it lets us do anything as crit. So, we've got Power Siphon with a... What are we up to now? 294 crit multi, 41.25% base crit. This is just my crit without power charges or anything like that. It's a decent crit wand that we crafted. But all this crit is coming from precision on its own. It's just precision with all the aura effect. That's where all of our crit comes from. So since all our damage is generic damage, and all of our crit is generic crit, and all of our cast speed comes from attack and cast speed from Necromancer, which is 2% increased attack and cast speed for you and your allies. So that gets added into all of my auras and then multiplied by all of the nodes that I've got on the tree. As well as all of our physical reduction is just generic on the aura. So it means you can play this build as absolutely fucking anything. Anything that attacks or casts yourself can be used. So if you want to go EK, if you want to go Blade Vortex, if you want to go Cyclone, if you want to go Tectonic Slam, if you want to go Power Siphon like I did, if you want to go Spark, if you want to go Fireball, it doesn't matter what you play. This build can play any skill that is not a summoner. You just have to slot in whatever you want into your 6th link, and off you go. The only thing I can't play right now is Spellslinger, because I don't have enough mana reservation for it. But I plan on getting enough mana reservation for it, and then we might try Spellslinger as well. This gets incredibly expensive. This is not a build I would suggest that newer players follow. And on top of that, this kind of build is not the kind of build that I can specifically guide you to, because there are so many moving parts and so much to play with mana reserve, and so many different things you can do with mana reserve, that you kind of already need to be able to kind of figure it out on your own. You can get a decent idea of how the build functions by just looking at my build and seeing what I've done, but to actually make one yourself, even if you had the 150x this currently costs to make it up to this stage right now, you're still going to have to play with it a little bit on your own, because you're not going to have the exact same stuff as I do. So a lot of that is just, you can get an idea and then you would have to sort it out yourself. These are expensive as fuck. What else? The only other thing that's worth noting is that I do have recover 5% of energy shield when you block on my shield, which I've got a 50% chance to block normally, and if Bone Offering procs, if I ever take enough damage that Bone Offering procs, I get about 50% spell block, and I cap on attack block, and that gives me a lot of heal on my energy shield back, which is great, but also maybe completely unnecessary because I never take that much damage to proc it. So I'm not really sure what to do with that. I just plain might not need it. As far as upgrade paths go, I plan on getting a Shadows and Dust with Elemental Weakness Corruption on it, so that I can drop the Elemental Weakness gem. I plan on getting a Headhunter, which will be the first time you've seen a Headhunter on this stream since Incursion was the last time I wore one. So yeah, basically these builds are being gutted definitely at the end of the league. They are not going to work anymore. I would like to take 1 or 2 heraldry builds and maybe 1 or 2 hollow palm builds all the way to level 100, because I suspect that neither of them will make it through this league, and I would just really like an opportunity to play them. So that's what we're going to do. Little bit of a deviation from my normal pump out a bunch of builds in the first month or two that are all relatively cheap and easy for people to follow. So if you were hoping for that, I'm sorry, but we're doing super high investment this time because it's fun. I will attach a path of building to the description of this video of where this character is currently. Keep an eye on this space for updates. We'll do one every few days whenever we've invested another 150x in it, and we'll see where it goes. And just for anyone wondering, my tooltip in my hideout with chain in on Power Siphon right now is 988k, just standing in my hideout alone. So there's that. Alright, that's pretty much it. I am BalorMage. I will see everybody later.